and my dog really loves peanut butter that way.
That's a handy trick there. Thank you for sharing that tip, Adam. Oh, wait. Hey, our listeners are here. Welcome back, everybody. Yes. Well, another episode, guys. We're wrapping up. This is season 10, Adam. I mean, realize we're almost at the end of season 10, and we're going to bring up our guests in just a minute. I'm excited to talk to our guests today. But I just want to throw out a debate. We've done a lot of callbacks this season. I think I'm thinking back to when we were younger and kids. I like this one you kind of suggested today, which is, what's something that you loved either eating or drinking as a child, as a kid, that when you try it now as an adult, you're like, ooh, that doesn't taste as good? I've got like 4 in my head right now that just popped up while I was saying it. So I'd be curious where you are. And then, of course, we'll have our guest give his take as well in just a second. So where are you thinking? Where are you feeling?
It's so funny. My wife and I were having this conversation. We were in the grocery store with the kids, and we saw Kool-Aid. And my kids was like,
that's what I was thinking. That was one. Yeah.
We were talking about it, and I remember the last time I had some Kool-Aid, that stuff is disgusting. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like every meal, it was some Kool-Aid that I drank growing up as a kid, like Kool-Aid, Flavor Aid, or whatever those things the off-brand was. And that stuff was like disgusting. But one other thing that I had that I just loved in my lunch as a kid, but I had as an adult, and I just like, it almost made me like lose it. Twinkies. And I know some Twinkie lovers are out there, but like as a kid, like I was like, oh my gosh, this like that pre-packaged pastry. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just like, like, give me something fresh baked. I mean, I'm like, oh, now, like, give me something fresh baked. I don't want, something like that.
I don't want Keurig coffee. I want a latte. The fancy. Yeah, yes. Exactly. It's funny. I looked up Kool-Aid's website while you're talking, because I'm like, man, what an opportunity they had that I think they've missed, because they have diet Kool-Aid, but like with all the sports athletes and this could have been Gatorade, right? Kool-Aid could have been Gatorade. It could have done all those things. I mean, they don't offer anything that's like an energizing powder or caffeinated.
No.
You see that stuff nowadays, right? It's all the healthy, you pour a little bit of this in your water and shake it up. That could have been Kool-Aid. I mean, opportunity. Like, well, that would have been my first one was Kool-Aid, but my second thought was this stuff. We used to do this when we were kids, is we take little Ritz crackers and this can of thing called Cheese Whiz, and then we do the Cheese Whiz on the thing, and we just go as high as you can make it go, and you eat it. I tried some. I want to say last year I brought some home, and the kid's like, "What is it, Dad?" I was like, "Oh, you got to try it. It's great." And I ate it. I was like, "Oh my God, this is terrible." It tastes like, I don't know. It's flavorless paste. It's a consistency. It's not good. I mean, it still exists. It's still out there, but no.
Yeah, I think in college I had some of that stuff. I mean, that was a staple in my dorm room. Some Cheese Whiz.
Yeah, Cheese Whiz is I my little mini tiny fridge in college. It had like 7 types of mustard, and then like a couple of maybe beverages as well. I think that's all I could fit in there. And Cheese Whiz, of course, you got to have on the ready, because it had a good shelf life, much like Twinkies, by the way, which last forever apparently. But enough about us. I would love to hear. I would love to hear what our guest has to say about this. He's Winston Roberts, everybody. You may know him as a teacher in a suit on his YouTube channel. He's an educator. He's a keynote speaker. Also talks quite a bit about AI. I see a lot of stuff you put out there about AI. But Winston, most importantly, what was something you remember when you were a child that you're like, ooh, this tastes good, but now not so much?
Well, Adam, Carl, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. And I was hearing your discussion. It made me think about, honestly, strawberry milk. I know it sounds a little weird and niche, but working in a school, I saw one like the other day in the cafeteria. They had like an extra, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't had that in a while." And I literally tried, and I was like, "No, yeah, this is not what it was like back in the day." So I don't know if the vendor changed or my taste buds, but either way, it's not the same. So yeah.
I think we need to research that. I think there's a reason why taste buds change on those flavors, because I think I had like a Yoo-hoo.
Oh, there you go. You're back. Yeah, you disappeared for a minute. Oh, he's slowing up, but I think we're okay
for a second.
Yeah, I had like a Yoo-hoo, and I was like, ugh, like what is this? Like flavored milk just isn't what it used to be.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't. Sorry, I think I lost you guys for a second there, but I think I should.
That was all good.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Sometimes it does on the recording. Sometimes it'll close up a little bit. So hopefully it's working well now. It looks like our strength is good. Yeah. Okay, well, so important stuff. We got that out of the way. Now, let's give us a little bit of your background. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to? Were you born in a suit? I mean, no.
Well, funny enough, the thing about the suit is actually when I was born, when my mom went into labor with me, then my dad was like, "Okay, hold on a second," and she was like, "What? What are you talking about?" She looks around the corner. He's putting on a suit, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I want the first thing that my kids see when they come to the world is their father in a suit." So that's kind of like where it came from, and just seeing my dad go to work every morning, wear the suit, and us going to church, and then going to Morehouse undergrad. I'm a Morehouse man, so it's kind of our culture to wear suits and everything. Being in fraternity brothers with Adam and everything, that's kind of our thing, where we wear suits as men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And when I started teaching, I wore a suit, and even if the kids didn't know my name or the parents didn't know my name, they'd be like, "You're the teacher with all the suits, right?" So that's how I ended up turning it into a brand. So that's where that came from.
I had no idea where that story was going to go, because you started with birth, and I was like, "Wow, he's going way back on this one."
Yeah, I thought when their dad came out with a little baby suit.
I know.
Yeah, he's in the little room with all the babies with a little baby suit on. Like I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. It goes way back. It goes all the way back. So no, it's not a gimmick. It's what I do. I wear a suit pretty much every day, and even if the kids, when the kids see me like not wear a tie, or if I decide to wear a crew neck or a collared shirt and dress down, they're like, no, you're not on brand today, Mr. Roberts. That's not right. But to answer your question about my background, I got into education because I originally wanted to get into law, but I thought I could make more of an impact on the front end of the criminal justice system rather than the back end. I think my experience at Google as an intern in their sales staffing and recruiting department, in undergrad, I saw how like selective hiring practices were, and I thought, like, why don't they teach these things in school? And that'd be great to be able to show young folks all the different things that elite hiring practices do, and see how I could get them the skills to be prepared for that world. So my journey into education has always been about, how do I prepare kids for the real world? Most of my time this is my 10th year now in the classroom. 8 of those years were spent in Newark. 6 of those was spent teaching 5th and 6th grade math. And then the last 4 years I've been teaching financial literacy, as a matter of fact. Again, trying to make sure that kids are prepared for the real world. I'm now at Foundation Academies in Trenton, New Jersey. We're a charter school, K through 12, but I teach in the high school of financial literacy. And in the midst of all this going on, AI happens. And in that spirit of wanting to prepare kids for the real world, I didn't think we could have an honest conversation about that if we're not honest about what the world looks like or what it could look like. So from there, from the first time I started using AI, I just had this, this premonition. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to change everything. I was on paternity leave, and I went to my wife and I was like, honey, this is going to change everything. And she said, great, hold the baby. So, but at that time, I was like, wow, this really is going to change how we do everything, how everything works. And our education system is not at all remotely prepared for this. We're in an education system where, it's basically preparing folks to be industrial era factory workers. And this type of technology is game breaking for that system. But my sense is that the only way around that is to make sure that we're actually equipping our teachers to understand what this technology is and be able to help them think differently about it, so they can help kids not just be efficient and not just wave our fingers at them for cheating, but instead, how do we design our assignments and design our learning environments in such a way where AI can't break them and the kids can still learn?
So question for you, you were talking about AI and being this game changer in this space. So we've had on our podcast a lot of tech directors and instructional folks that work with the teachers and with staff, but you're working your boots on ground, you're working with students. So what are students saying about AI? Because I'm one of those folks where I don't believe the hype where people say, oh, kids just get it. No, they don't. They're doing it, but it's not necessarily that they're getting it or they're doing it the right way. So what are kids saying about AI, and how are you seeing it being used by students in the classroom?
I mean, the thing is, I can't go 5 feet in the high school without overhearing a conversation about it. The kids are using it all the time and for everything, whether, all the teachers here like that or not. I actually had a teacher, actually 2 different teachers I talked to. One was here, another one was in Missouri, I believe. And both of them were teaching 3rd grade. Both of them said, yes, we have students that are using ChatGPT to complete tests and complete essays when we didn't ask them to do that. So even as young as 3rd grade, if kids are on TikTok, they're seeing these things come out, they're talking to their friends, and word travels fast about, a supercomputer prediction machine that can do your homework for you. So that's what they see it as. And they're like, great, yeah, I put in what I want and it gets done. I was covering for a choir class actually a few months ago, and the teacher had this really cool project where they had to put together, they had to design a concert of any genre that they wanted it to be, and put it together, sequence it, put it on a slideshow, decide how they're going to sequence it, why it was this way. And the teacher had these instructions on Google Classroom. This was supposed to be a 90-minute block. So I'm thinking, all right, kids, go to Google Classroom. Your choir teacher put something on there. Let me send off a few emails in the back. And I look up, and one student is shopping on Amazon on their computer about 10 minutes later. I'm like, how's that happening? So I go over to them. I say, hey, did you get your project done? Sure. Hands me her school-issued Chromebook, and all the slides are there. All the criteria are met. It's all done. And then I got curious and just moved my cursor over to the top of the tabs, and sure enough, ChatGPT was right there. The crazy thing was, I went in, scrolled up to the top of the prompt. This young lady literally copy-pasted the teacher's Google Classroom instructions and pasted that into ChatGPT and got her project done just like that. Had she known about some of the the slide generation tools, she could have been done in 3 minutes instead of 10, but she spent 2 minutes getting that done, and then the rest of the 8 minutes was just copy pasting over into Google Slides. So kids are using it. They're aware of how it works. They may not know all the intricacies or all the terminology around large language models and vectors and RAG and all that different type of stuff, but they understand, I put this in, I get this out. One more quick story, then I'll let you guys reflect and jump in on that. I had one student as well. I was showing my students how to use AI to create their slides, because we do all these presentations in my financial literacy class, because I always tell kids, because the robots can't do presentations live yet. So that's what we're going to do in this class. And I was showing them about how they could use AI to create their slides so they can concentrate on the content and the actual presentation. And most of the kids were like, whoa, I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know it could create a slideshow for me in real time. And one kid was just sitting back, just like unimpressed. I went to him, I'm like, hey, everything okay? You seen this before? He's like, oh yeah, I'm an AI warrior, 10th grader. I'm an AI warrior. I haven't written a paragraph all year. And I was like, real? Tell me more. The teacher in me is like, oh no, but the AI strategist in me is like, yeah, what's going on? Let me hear more. And he said, yeah, most of the kids get caught because these AI detectors. And I'm like, AI detectors, they're not great. I need to send an email to the teachers. But he said, yeah, they get caught. But I put mine through 3 humanizers, so it never gets flagged. So again, to give you a sense, and we're a Title I charter school in Trenton, New Jersey, primarily Black and brown. So we're not a $70,000 a year tuition type of school. Yeah. We're on school-issued Chromebooks. Kids are using this technology and understand how to use it to accomplish the problems that are in front of them. So what I always tell teachers is we have to make sure we're designing our environments that give our kids bigger problems to solve, real world problems to solve, because they're going to use it to solve the problems that are in front of them.
Yep. And I'm going to guess, or I don't know, I'm going to make an assumption here. Do all teachers at your school, are they all okay with the kids using AI?
No, they're not. Not all of them are, and it's work that we're doing here. And it's it's a process. I'm the AI innovation lead here, so I'm running AI office hours. I'm sending weekly blasts. I'm doing trainings for teachers and everything. And the point I've been able to get a lot of teachers to come to, the ones I've been able to do successfully, a lot of them, even if they're uncomfortable, they're like, I may not like it, but it's here, and I got to do we got to do something about it. And I think I try to just approach it from a pragmatic sense that this is where we are. We can't stick our heads in the sand, especially if our whole job is as educators to prepare kids for the real world. When you have companies like Shopify and Duolingo and probably others who are saying, look, we're not hiring anybody else unless you can prove that AI can't do that job. if that's the job market we're sending our kids into, what are we doing? And what's going to happen to them if they walk into that type of environment completely unprepared, or even if they're trying to apply for these entry-level jobs that require 5 years of work experience, that even if they're still there, they're going to be up against somebody who's applying to 1,000 different jobs in a week because they're using AI to churn out their applications. Yeah. So I just don't see it as pragmatic if we stick our heads in the sand and say, no, we're going to pretend like this technology doesn't exist. We're going to lock it up, tell them no, because there's going to be just a giant, wider disparity between the haves and have-nots of this technology.
Yeah, the equity of AI usage is another thing. I know you've talked about this before. I've seen, I think, or it was something I was reading on EdTech Magazine about this, where you're talking about just kind of like what happens when certain teachers are like, oh, it's cheating, but other teachers aren't, or certain schools. And I think, we're right at that early stage. So like, obviously you're an enthusiast, and there's also a lot of people out there that are not. And then there's those ones in the middle that you're kind of like, it sounds like you're starting to win them over somewhat. Like, okay. It's almost like stages of grief, right? We're going to go in denial first, and then we're going to be angry, and now we're going to have acceptance. And I think we're in the acceptance phase. So how do you, if students are being told that AI is cheating by some teachers, not all, but some, that's still, I would say, the prevailing message I get when I go out and talk about it too. So what I've experienced aligns with what you're experiencing, Winston. How do you have equity with AI usage if in practice, if everybody's worried about it being a cheating tool? Because it sounds like you just said, if you're doing that, then you're making the kids are being left behind in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about having more of those conversations with teachers. And I think what I try to do in my training sessions is give them an experience, just like I do with my students. I don't try to just lecture at you for 40 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever it is.
Thank you. Yeah.
I try to give people an experience. And I think pedagogically, that's one of the only things that's going to survive in this AI era. So with teachers, when they come in and they're coming with their arms crossed because they've been told they got to come to the AI session, they've already got these preconceived notions about what AI is or isn't, or what it can and can't do. And what I like to do is just put that on the table within the first couple of minutes and say, all right, we're all going to now be songwriters. In the next 15 minutes, we're all going to be songwriters, regardless of what your profession is. And I walk them through a prompting framework that allows them to create a Grammy Award-winning song in the style of their favorite artist about a personal life experience. So When they do that, they've got this preconceived notion of AI can't sound human, AI can't be creative, AI can't. And then they walk away with a song about the birth of their first child in the style of Beyonce and Taylor Swift combined. And some of them are in tears, literally.
Oh.
So now when we started the session like that in the first 15 minutes, and we reflect on like what this means for our world, now it's like, okay, you've seen what the power and capability of this is. Let me tell you what you just did. Let me tell you how that worked. Let me tell you how that's not magic, but it's pattern recognition. And when you've pointed this technology that it's analyzed all the patterns in language and can predict what comes next, it just allows for some very interesting combinations. And then once people start like opening up to that, now let's talk about what that means for different use cases in your work. Let's talk about what that means for the world as a whole. And of course, now let's talk about what that means for your students. And how do we create a world where learning can still happen when they have access to this technology and they're further ahead than we are? What does that mean? As we start having more, I think as we have more and more of those conversations, it leads to a path of, I think it either does one of two things, either leads to a path of acceptance or tolerance, or it leads to a path of no, when you hit the door, I have no computers, I have everything is pencil and paper, and that's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna analyze exactly what this individual person in front of me can do at this time, and that's gonna be my classroom, and that's law, and I don't care what anybody else says. And that's people's choice to do that. But I think at the very least, it's allowing us to deal with it instead of pretending like it doesn't exist, or pretend like, oh, don't say anything about it because kids won't figure out. They are using it. They know about it. It's not a secret.
I love that you made it personal too. I think that tying that personal part and the music, Adam and I, we do a thing with Carrie, we call it Carrie AIoki, where we generate images. Yeah, and the crowd has to guess the song based on the images, which are based on the lyrics of something that was created in image. But then Adam takes it a step further and asks him like, what's a song that that is about your moment in time right now, like that best typifies what your life is like. Is it Crazy Train by Ozzy, or what is it? And then they have to create an image. So again, I like that you use that as a quick hook, and immediately like, all right, we personified it, I guess would be the word to use there, and then again tied into it. That's awesome.
Thanks.
And well, we see that right now, technology being ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's whether you're talking about on our phones, on our watches, we have Meta glasses and stuff. But we're also seeing like a little pushback to how connected we are with technology. So, my question to you is like, what do you? Oh, yeah. So my question to you is like, what do you think we're getting right, and what do you think we're getting wrong as far as this whole ed tech movement, as a school system and education? We have these conversations with our parents, our community. Like, what are we doing a very good job of, and what are some things that we can improve on as far as this messaging and how we're utilizing technology, specifically AI, in our spaces?
I think in certain spaces I've seen there are ed tech companies that are really trying hard to make sure they're meeting the needs of teachers in the classroom. There's a few out there. I know Kindred K-12 with Charles Manette out in North Carolina. He's doing a lot of work to use AI agents to help with professional development and teachers and creating materials and everything. One of the things that he built in was like a worksheet builder where people can just go in and they don't have to like copy paste things over, but it like automatically creates the worksheet for you based on the resources that are presented there on file. So I mean, I think, and he did a lot of work talking with a lot of teachers to be able to put that together and to add that functionality. A lot of other ed tech companies are doing similar things where they're trying to be responsive to the needs of teachers in the classroom. I think that is a good thing. I think one of my concerns is even in doing that, what that can lead to, unfortunately, is technology perpetuating the systems that we already have in place. Right. Optimizing for the state test scores, optimizing for rote memorization, optimizing for just the ways that we've always assessed learning in schools. And I think that there are some things that in education have been done well, but I think also when the incentives are set up in such a way that the state test kind of dictates whether or not the lights are going to stay on in the building, then everything kind of has to drive and optimize to that bottom line number of, okay, what's the percentage of kids that pass this state test? And if that's what the leaders are building toward, that's what the teacher's goal is, that's what the students know that they have to do, then I think it just funnels us into how do we use AI to, create students who are just going to be, as I believe, I can't remember who said it, but basically said less capable versions of AI.
Yeah.
And I think instead, we as educators, and I think EdTech has a role in this too, we have to think about how do we get everybody, all of our stakeholders, to think bigger. We have a technology now where it allows anything that exists in one's head to now exist on a computer screen. That's the point that we're at now. And in a matter of time, the technology is going to get more interconnected and more seamless. So even if you could do all the stuff with MySpace and HTML and coding all the way back then, things change when you have the iPhone. In the same way, we're at this place with AI, but imagine when your Meta AI glasses seamlessly connected to a transcript of what's being said and are feeding you answers in real time based on your personal profile, and all of that's fed in together right here. You think you have a phone problem in schools now? What's going to happen when everybody's wearing Meta glasses? So I think that's the thing with EdTech and with schools in general. How do we design for that world? How do we equip our students to be able to navigate that world and solve for the problems of tomorrow's world? If we can do that, then I think that we're giving kids a fighting chance. But if we instead just hammer home the message that, you have to get this grade so that you can get this score on this test, so that you can get into college, so that you can get the job, I think there's a lot of gaps in that chain. And I think we got to be paying a lot closer attention to it if we want kids to be able to live choice-filled lives, be able to have families, be able to afford homes, and all those things that our grandparents had the chance to do.
And it's so interesting you bring that up because as I'm thinking about like my own growth from a educator, from a student to an educator, I think about like when the internet started. Like the people I think who initially like launched the internet probably had no idea that we would be on the internet right now having a live video conference, interviewing those in podcasts and streaming television on the internet. That was not the concept. It was just sending some text messages back and forth. So just that change they couldn't even think about. So I don't even think about myself and what I know about tech and where I'm at, but I think about where my kids, they don't even have an idea. I mean, they have more ideas of what technology could do because they don't know the limitations that we have right now. There's no limit to their thinking, to your point. They're thinking about who needs meta glasses when I can actually have a meta contact lens. When I'm actually, because I have my son ask me, like, well, Dad, I see people wearing their AirPods. Why don't they have it built in where if it's in there, you're talking to your computer the whole time? Why do I have to use the phone? Can I just be talking to my computer in my ear and it's telling me you're doing stuff? I'm like, yeah, that could be happening sooner than you think. But that's the mentality of these kids because they're thinking big. They're thinking a whole lot bigger than we are.
Yeah, and then you think about Douglas Adams, who I always think of the Douglas Adams quote. The guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He said that anything that's invented when you were born or before you were born is just normal and ordinary and part of the everyday world. Which in our case, again, those of us that are old enough now, we see this new thing coming in. But I can imagine what the 5 and 6 year olds coming up through this system, what are they going to think, right? And you're a father, so I'm curious, what is your take on that? Like again, with your own kids, like how do you prepare? Being an AI advocate, being a teacher, being a father, what are you doing? How do you prepare your kids for this future that we have no really clue? And I have kids and Adam has kids. We're all kind of like trying to figure out the balancing act of all that, right? How do you balance all that? What are you thinking for your kid?
Yeah, I love this question because as a matter of fact, my daughter was born the day before ChatGPT was released to the world.
Ooh,
so
November 29th.
November 29th, exactly.
22.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I just put her birthday out there for the internet to know now. Sorry.
I mean, it's okay. We got it locked down pretty well. But,
yeah.
But no, it's like the day before. So now, like, I get to watch her and ChatGPT and AI grow up together.
Wow.
And I think, on the one hand, one's learning how to read, the other's passing the bar exam and, changing the world. They're both so advanced.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about that, and what it shows me is as I see her growing, I see her reaching these stages of development, I'm seeing the same thing happening with AI. And it just makes me realize that if we can go from this far in just a matter of 3 years, what's going to happen when they're both teenagers? What's going to happen when they're both adults? And I think the best thing that I can do, that my wife and I can do for her, is give her the strongest foundation possible, both academically, morally, socially,
emotionally, mentally, yeah, all of it. Yeah.
She has the tools to navigate the world and is able to like feed her natural curiosity for things. I think the kids and the people that are going to win in the end are going to be the ones that have the greatest imaginations and are the ones that can explain their thinking in specific ways. If you can have a wild imagination and explain exactly what's in your brain and put that, I guess, on paper, but on a screen, then the possibilities are quite limitless. And I just want our daughter to be able to have that at her disposal. So that's why we're starting now with her reading. We're getting through some Dr. Seuss books right now. And by her being able to have such a strong connection and access to language, then she will be able to navigate all the large language models and everything that comes after it.
See, now I want ChatGPT to give me a Dr. Seuss like rhyme about AI that your kid can learn at the because again, it's in the head. You just got to put it out there, like you said, put on the screen. I love that. Yeah.
All right, so you are amazing educator. You are an AI advocate. You are a parent. You're doing a lot of stuff in the world right now. So I want to know what do you do to keep yourself undisrupted with everything you have going on?
So this is great because just for my birthday the other day, My wife actually, she asked me earlier. She's like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And I said, I can't seem to find a Lego store around here in Philadelphia. And I remember when we went to your mom's place about a year ago. There was this unique Lego store where it's like they like do Lego resale. It's like almost like GameStop but for Legos. I was like, I would just love to find a place like that. I think it's called Bricks and Minifigs. I was like, I would love to find a place like that and just spend some time in there on my birthday. And so last week, because my birthday was Tuesday. Over the weekend, we went. She takes me in the car. I'm not sure where we're going. We're just sitting around and everything, and we go 35, 40 minutes out to Jersey to some strip mall. And I was like, we're going to Smashburger? I mean, all right. Hey,
there we go. Let's go.
She's like, and we go around the corner and it's that same store. Apparently it's a franchise. I thought it was only in one place, but
it is. Yeah, it is.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted. So that's how I like to unwind, how I like to be undisrupted, just spending some time, collecting minifigures, building new sets, taking old sets, remaking something. And I think it's analogous to my work in education too. Like having an imagination, being able to put it together in new and interesting ways. And that's how I unwind.
I love it. Also very non-technical. You think about it too, all the human sides of things. I've noticed that with a lot of our guests, Adam, most of them will it's always something that's more hands-on. Some people like gardening, some people like walking, exercising. Mm-hmm. I love the minifigs. Somewhere back there on my shelf, it's dark, but there's an Optimus Prime that my daughter and I built. It was like 1,000 pieces. That thing was massive.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives me a way to just kind of like decompress and just, work through the problems and just just to detach from the world. So there's nothing better than having a good Lego set and in a bunch of time.
I had time, I would design a minifig that is a teacher in a suit, just a version of you. I'm sure AI could do that for us now.
I was like, I just need to get it 3D printed somewhere, but I definitely have a picture of one. Yes.
Ooh, there's a company idea right there. You design it with AI, then you have it sent to a 3D printer, and then you get to make personal. Oh, okay. This is all you, Winston. I want 10%. We want 10%.
10%.
Okay. Well, real quick before we go, give us a quick shot. Where can people find out more about you and your work?
Certainly. So thank you. You can find me on teacherinasuit.com across pretty much all platforms at Teacher in a Suit. And then I also just launched a Substack recently. I titled it The World After Homework, because, at this day and age, you can assume that anything that you've assigned for homework is going to be done with AI. So what does that mean in a world beyond homework? So I've done a few posts already, and that's where you can find more of my writing and work, and all other platforms at Teacher in a Suit.
I love it. The Substack is blowing up a lot, Adam. I'm seeing more and more people. My Substack is called Rideshare Philosophers, and it's every time I get into a rideshare, I have a weird, interesting philosophical conversation with a rideshare person. So now I've started Substacking just those conversations for fun. But thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna launch mine then now. Let me say, what's mine? I'm not going to be called Other Duties as Assigned.
There we go.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I like it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And for our listeners out there, be sure to subscribe and give us a review. We'd appreciate it. We might even give you a shout out on a future show. This has been the Undisrupted Podcast, brought to you by All for Ed. He's Adam, and you can follow him at AskAdam3, but not on Substack yet.
And he's Carl, and you can follow him at Hooker Tech. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are better together.
And we are better undisrupted.